If you invested just $5 every single day, you'd put away about $36,500 over 20 years. But if that money was invested and compounded, you could end up with much more. And the craziest part? Most of the magic doesn't happen at the beginning, it happens near the end. Let me show you why compound interest is one of the most powerful forces in investing. $5 doesn't feel like much. For many people, it disappears without a second thought. A coffee, a snack, a small online purchase. But imagine that instead of disappearing, that $5 was invested every single day. That works out to roughly $152 a month. After 1 year, you would have personally contributed about $1,825. Nothing life-changing yet. And this is exactly where many people misunderstand compounding, because at first, it looks almost boring. Imagine your investments earned an average return of around 8% per year over the long term. That return is not guaranteed, of course. Some years could be much higher, others could be negative, but we'll use 8% simply to demonstrate how compounding works. At the beginning, most of the account is still money that you put in. Your investment gains are relatively small, so you might look at the balance and think, is this really worth it? But something important is quietly happening. Your money is beginning to earn money. And then, the money your money earned begins earning money too. That is compound growth. Think of it like rolling a snowball down a hill. At first, the snowball is tiny. Each turn adds only a little more snow, but as the snowball becomes larger, every rotation collects more than the rotation before it. Investing can work in a similar way. You contribute money. That money potentially earns a return. Then your original investment, plus those previous gains, can earn future returns. You're no longer growing money only from your own contributions. Your previous growth starts helping create new growth. And the longer you give that process, the more powerful it can become. Now watch what happens over 20 years. You invest $5 a day. Your total contribution? Approximately $36,500. But assuming an average annual return of 8%, compounded over time, your investment could grow to approximately $89,500. Think about that. You personally contributed around $36,500, yet the account could be worth almost $90,000. More than $53,000 of the final value would come from investment growth rather than the dollars you originally contributed. And this is the part most people miss. Compound growth is not linear. It doesn't look like this. A little growth, then the same amount of growth, then the same amount again. It can accelerate. When the account is small, an 8% return on the balance doesn't produce much. But imagine earning the same percentage when the account has grown much larger. 8% on $1,000 is $80. 8% on $10,000 is $800. 8% on $50,000 is $4,000. Same percentage, completely different result. That's why time matters so much. This also explains something important about long-term investing. Starting with a small amount early can sometimes be more powerful than waiting until you have a large amount to invest. People often tell themselves, I'll start when I'm earning more. I'll start when I have $10,000. I'll start when life becomes less expensive. But compounding doesn't necessarily need a huge starting amount. What it desperately needs is time. You can increase your contributions later, but you can never go back and buy another 10 years. And here's where things become even more interesting. What if you didn't stop after 20 years? What if that $5 a day habit continued for 30 years? Or 40 years? Now the compounding has much longer to work. And if your income increased, and you eventually went from $5 a day to $10, then $20, the numbers could become dramatically larger. Not because of some secret investment, not because you discovered a stock that's guaranteed to explode, but because of three simple ingredients: money, return, and most importantly, time. Of course, real investing doesn't move in a perfectly straight line. Returns fluctuate, markets fall, inflation reduces purchasing power, taxes and fees can affect your results, and an 8% annual return is an illustration, not a promise. But none of that changes the fundamental lesson. The longer invested money has the opportunity to compound, the greater the potential effect of compounding becomes. And this is one of the most important ideas to understand before worrying about finding the next hot stock. Building wealth isn't only about finding investments. It's also about understanding how money grows. Here at Stock 2 Trend, that's what we want to help you do. Understand investing, understand the stock market, understand the data behind stocks, and become a more informed investor. Because once you understand compounding, there's another question that becomes incredibly interesting. What happens if two people invest exactly the same amount, but one starts just 10 years earlier? The difference might surprise you. Subscribe to Stock 2 Trend, because that's what we're breaking down next. And remember, when it comes to compounding, small amounts can become powerful when you give them enough time.